Hello students, welcome to this lecture again. So up till now we have seen that the Bohr atomic model is a marvelous atomic theory and it seems to answer all of the questions related to the atomic physics. Okay, we have seen that Bohr atomic model could explain the origin of the Balmer series. We have seen the Balmer series, that it consists of 4 lines: H alpha line, H beta line, H gamma line and H delta line. This is the Balmer series. This is the Balmer series, and this particular series arises when the electron jumps from higher energy level to the level for which n is equal to 2. So sometimes electron may jump from n equal to 3 to n equal to 2. It may jump from n equal to 4 to n equal to 2, n equal to 5 to n equal to 2. Okay, so whenever these transitions will take place, we will get the Balmer series. So Bohr atomic model seems to be very successful in explaining, but the success of Bohr atomic theory did not last for a long. There were the discovery of newer and newer instrument, newer and newer high resolution instrument, and when this Balmer spectrum was observed with a high resolution spectroscope, then it was realized that this H alpha line is not the single line, rather it is the composition of, or it contains 5 different lines. It contains 5 different lines which are closely separated from each other, So actually, when this particular Balmer spectrum was observed with a low resolution spectroscope, we could observe these 4 lines. Bohr atomic theory could explain all these 4 lines, what is the origin of these 4 lines, how these 4 lines are being originated from the atom. So the explanation for this particular query was completely understood by the Bohr and was given to the scientific community. But when this H alpha line, it seems to be a single line. Why? Because suppose this is the energy level 1. How we will get the H alpha line? When the electron jumps from the energy level for which n equal to 3 to the another energy level for which n equal to 2, right? So whenever the electron makes transition from this level to this level, we will get the photon whose wavelength matches with the wavelength of H alpha line. So you see that for this particular level the quantum number has a value 2. For this particular level the quantum number is having a value 3. So for n equal to 2 there will be a single value of energy, that is E2. For n equal to 3, again there will be a single value of energy, that will be given by E3. And how we will find out the wavelength of this particular electromagnetic radiation? So there will be the transition of the electron from E3 to E2, and we will get the equivalent photon whose frequency is given by nu and whose wavelength is given by this particular formula. So we know the value of E3, E2, so we can easily calculate the value of lambda. Now you see, single value of E2, since according to the Bohr there is a single energy level corresponding to the quantum number 2, quantum number n. So here, since n equal to 2, we will be having a single value of energy. Here n equal to 3, we will be having a single value of energy. So difference of these two single valued energy will be a number which will be a single value, right? So this particular lambda current will correspond to a single value, right? So lambda will have a single value. So there should be only one wavelength emitting from the transition from these two levels, right? But here actually when this H alpha line was observed with the help of high resolution spectroscope, it was realized that it is not the single line, but rather it is a group of 5 lines, okay, which are very closely separated. But still there is some separation, right? If there is some separation, it means that the wavelength of this particular line is different, wavelength of this particular line is different, this particular line, and all these other lines, the wavelength of all these lines are different. This is not a single wavelength, right? So what could be the origin of this particular 5 lines? Bohr did not have any kind of answer to these 5 lines. According to the Bohr, since there is a transition of electron between 2 energy levels, there should be a single wavelength possible only, but here we are getting 5 different lines. So this particular structure of closely spaced wavelengths which are separated from each other, this particular kind of spectrum is called as fine structure. This is called as a fine structure of H alpha line, fine structure of hydrogen spectrum, or the fine structure of H alpha line. So the origin of the fine structure of the H alpha line could not be explained by the Bohr atomic model, and here the Bohr atomic model fails. Okay, this is the biggest shortcoming of the Bohr atomic model, that it could not explain the fine structure. Okay, but science does not remain still. Okay, it goes further and further. So after Bohr, there was another scientist who came forward and he put up a new atomic model to explain the fine structure, and the name of that scientist is Sommerfeld. Okay, so Sommerfeld's atom model. So why there is a single energy difference, or why there is a single wavelength possible in the Bohr atomic model, was only due to the concept of circular orbits, because Bohr has argued that electron revolves around the nucleus in the circular orbit, whereas Sommerfeld denied this concept of circular orbit. The scientist Sommerfeld introduced the concept of elliptical orbit in place of circular orbit. So what we can say in summary, according to the Bohr, electron revolve in the circular orbits around the nucleus, but according to the Sommerfeld, electron revolves in the elliptical orbit with nucleus at one of the foci. So suppose this is the ellipse, so it will have a major axis, it will have a minor axis. So this is the complete major axis, this is a complete minor axis. The major axis, the length of semi-major axis is denoted by A, and the length of semi-minor axis is denoted by B, right? And where will be the position of nucleus? It should be at one of the foci, so either here or here. So let us assume that our nucleus is sitting here. Okay, now the Bohr has given the concept of elliptical orbit. So what difference it would make? So actually, whenever electron, suppose these are the coordinate axes, whenever electron moves in a circular orbit, the electron moves in a circular orbit, then what will happen? Its radius will be constant at all times. Its radius will be constant at all times. Suppose electron is here, then this much radius. Suppose the electron is here, then this much radius. Here also. So everywhere, wherever the electron is, its radius will be constant. Not only radius, its speed will also be constant, right? So the electron moving at this particular location, its speed will be something. Here also the speed will be same. So in case of circular motion, the radius remains constant, the speed also remains constant, and if the speed is remaining constant, it means that energy will also be constant. We know that the general formula for energy is, if we assume that the total energy is kinetic, entirely is kinetic, then half mv square, and since v is constant, therefore the energy will be constant. So this is the case with the circular orbit, right? What about the case with the elliptical orbits? So you can easily understand from this diagram that if the electron is at this particular position, then this will be the value of radius vector, this will be the value of radius vector. If electron is at this particular position, then this will be the value of radius vector. So you see, as against with the circular orbit conditions, here the value of radius vector is more, here the value of radius vector is less, and if the electron is located at this particular position, then the value of radius vector will be minimum. So during the complete revolution in the elliptical order, the electron will have different values of the radius vectors. Okay, so not only radius vector, if you want to denote the position of the electron in the elliptical orbit, the position of electron at any particular time will be denoted by two variables. One is the radius vector and another will be a quantity which is denoted by phi. This particular angle is called as azimuthal angle. What is meant by azimuthal angle? Actually, azimuthal angle is the angle made by radius vector. Suppose this is the radius vector, then it is the angle made by the radius vector with the major axis of the ellipse. So this is the radius vector, this is the major axis, and therefore the angle between these two vectors is denoted by phi, which is called as a azimuthal angle. So in case of elliptical motion, the position of a particle or position of the electron at any particular point of instant will be denoted by two variables. One is r and another is phi, that is radius vector and the azimuthal angle. Okay, now what about speed? the speed of the electron in case of elliptical orbits also changes with time, okay, or also changes with the position. Suppose the electron is located at this particular position, then it is far away from the nucleus, so therefore the force of attraction will be less and therefore its speed will be less. As it approaches towards the nucleus, okay, as its radius vector goes on decreasing, so as the radius vector goes on decreasing, the force of attraction will be higher and therefore the speed will increase. So there will be constant increase and constant decrease of speed of the electron in this elliptical motion, okay. So in case of elliptical orbits, or what we can say, whenever the electron moves in an elliptical orbit, its radius vector is changing, its speed is also changing, and therefore its energy should also be changing during that particular motion. So according to the Bohr, only one energy or single valued energy is possible, but according to the Sommerfeld, since the electron moves in the elliptical orbits, its energy must be changing, okay, its energy must be changing, and that could account for the origin of this fine structure of the hydrogen spectrum or H alpha line, right. So this is the assumption made by the Sommerfeld, okay. But how we could incorporate these assumptions into the quantum idea, right, because Bohr has given the quantum number n and he told that the energy depends on this particular quantum number. So see, in case of circular orbit, since there is only one variable, or since r remains constant, we assume a quantum number n associated with this particular motion, circular motion. But when the electron is moving in the elliptical orbit, we have seen that its radius vector changes continuously, its speed also changes continuously, and therefore its energy should also change continuously. Therefore what Sommerfeld thought, that instead of giving only one quantum number, he assumed that there should be two quantum numbers associated with the motion of the electron in the elliptical orbit. So what two quantum numbers? He associated first quantum number to be associated with this radius vector, and this quantum number was denoted by nr, n suffix r. So this is the quantum number associated with the radius vector, and he assumed another quantum number n phi, which is associated with the azimuthal angle, right. So according to Sommerfeld, there are two quantum numbers in order to find out complete state of the electron, and the relation between this n phi, nr and n will be given by n equal to n phi plus nr, okay, where n phi is called as the azimuthal quantum number and nr is called as a radial quantum number, right. So n will be equal to this thing, okay. Again there is one more speciality of the ellipse. In case of ellipse, we have an entity which is called as eccentricity of the ellipse, okay, which is called as the eccentricity of the ellipse. And in case of ellipse, this eccentricity is related with the length of semi-major and semi-minor axis with the formula under root of 1 minus epsilon square is equal to b by a. And again this ratio is related with the another ratio, and it is given by n phi divided by n, n phi divided by n, or it is equal to n phi divided by nr plus n phi, okay. So this particular relationship exists in case of ellipse, okay. So what will be the advantage of that, okay, or how we can explain this particular origin of the spectral lines, 5 spectral lines for H alpha line. Let us focus on this particular bracket, okay. B by A is equal to n phi divided by n. Now let us suppose that for a particular case electron is in the third orbit, okay. Let us consider that electron is in the third orbit for which the n equal to 3. Now according to the Bohr, the energy level corresponding to this n equal to 3 is a single value. There should be only one energy possible according to the Bohr, okay. Now according to the Sommerfeld, the relationship between the quantum numbers and this ratio of the semi-minor and semi-major axis is given by this particular equation, right. So let us assume for n equal to 3, let us assume n phi is equal to 0. Suppose let us assume the case that whether the value 0 is permissible to n phi, because depending on the value of n there will be the different values of n phi and nr, okay. So this identity gives us now this b by a will be equal to n phi we have assumed 0, and what is n is 3. So 0 by 3 is again 0. It means that b will be equal to 0, but in an ellipse the length of semi-minor axis cannot be equal to 0. So this condition is not possible. This condition is not possible or is not allowed. So let us assume that okay, the value 0 is not allowed for n phi. So let us assume n phi is equal to 1. Now when n phi is equal to 1, this b by a will be equal to, here it will be 1 by 3. So b equal to how much? A by 3. So length of semi minor axis will always be less than length of semi major axis. So that is true. So this is allowed. It means that n phi is equal to 1 value will be allowed for this particular case. Suppose n phi is equal to 2. If n phi is equal to 2, then this b by a will be equal to, n phi is equal to 2 now. So 2 divided by 3. So again b is equal to 2/3 of a. It means that b is less than a. So b is less than a, that is the condition which is allowed for the elliptical motion. So this is also allowed case. So n phi is equal to 2, that is also allowed. Now let us assume that n phi is equal to 3. Now if n phi is equal to 3, then this b by a, let us make some boxes so that it can be easily identified. So n phi is equal to 3, b by a is equal to n phi, that is 3 divided by n, that is 3. So 3 divided by 3 is equal to 1. It means that b is equal to a. It means that length of semi minor axis is equal to the length of semi major axis. So whether this condition should be allowed or not, we will get the circle in that case, because the length of semi minor axis will be equal to the length of semi major axis. So we would get the circle. So whether that is allowed or not, so yes, that is also allowed. Why? Because circle is also a special case of ellipse. Circle is nothing but one type of special case of ellipse only, right? So this also allowed. Now if we make n phi is equal to 4, then what would happen? This implies b by a is equal to 4 divided by 3. 4 divided by 3, this implies b is equal to 1.33 times a. So length of semi minor axis has become greater than length of semi major axis. So this condition is not allowed, right? Because it cannot happen. Length of semi minor axis cannot be more than length of semi major axis, right? So this condition is not allowed. So see, these two conditions are not allowed, but these three conditions are allowed. These three conditions are allowed. Out of that, this is elliptical motion, this is elliptical motion, and this is a circular motion. Remember that circular motion is also a special case of elliptical motion only, right? So okay, so what we can conclude? We had assumed that n equal to 3. We had assumed n equal to 3, and we got the value of n phi is equal to 1, 2 and 3. These are the allowed values. So what we can conclude, that if the electron is revolving in an elliptical orbit for which the value of principal quantum number is suppose denoted by n, then that electron will assume, or we can say that then in that case this n phi will have n values. N phi will have n values, small n values. See, in this case n equal to 3, n equal to 3. So how many values are allowed for n phi? This 1, 2 and 3. So how many values? 1 value, 2 value and 3 values. So if n phi, if n equal to 3, then we are having 3 values possible for n phi. So that's why we have written, if there is a principal quantum number n, then n values will be associated with the n phi. Similarly, if n is equal to 2, if n is equal to 2, then what will be the allowed values for n phi? 0 will not be allowed. 1 divided by 2, that will be allowed. 2 divided by 2, that will be allowed. 3 divided by 2, that will not be allowed. So only 1 and 2, those will be the allowed values for n phi. So for n values, okay, or for the principal quantum number having the value n, there will be n values associated for n phi. Okay, so this we have to remember. Again, you see, b by a is equal to 1 by 3. Here the value of n phi is given by 1. And what type of orbit we are getting? Actually, we are getting the elliptical orbit, because 1 by 3 means b is less than a. So we will be getting elliptical orbit. So for n equal to 3, we have obtained 3 values for n phi, that is 1, 2 and 3. If you want to draw this diagrammatically, then you see 1 by 3 means what? We will be getting the ellipse. We will be getting the ellipse, and nucleus will be somewhere here, for example. Okay, I will redraw after some time. So this is the case for which n phi is equal to 1. This particular case will be represented by 3 1. Okay, 3 is the principal quantum number and 1 is the value of n phi associated in this particular case. Now for n phi is equal to 2, we will be getting 2 by 3. Okay, we will be getting 2 by 3. So we will be getting ellipse like that, and this particular case is denoted by 3 2. Okay, 3 is the value for n, small n, and 2 is the value for n phi. And if n phi is equal to 3, then b by a is equal to 3 by 3, and it is nothing but the circular orbit. So circular orbit, so we will be getting a circular orbit, right? So this is denoted by 3 3, and nucleus will be over here. So you see, in case of Bohr atomic model, if there is a single value of quantum number, for example n is equal to 3, so in case of Bohr atomic model, there is only one energy level or one orbit possible. This n equal to 3 indicates that there is a single orbit for this particular quantum number. But in case of Sommerfeld atomic model, wherever the electron revolves in the elliptical fashion according to him, then there are different energy levels or different orbits possible. There are different orbits possible. 3 1 is the one of the orbit, 3 2 is the another orbit, and 3 3 is the another orbit. So if there are n values, if there is a quantum number n, then n different values are possible. It means that n orbits are possible. So there is no single energy level or there is no single orbit in case of Sommerfeld. For every orbit there will be the multiple orbitals, we can say. Okay, so this is the case for n equal to 3. Suppose n is equal to 1. If n is equal to 1, then n phi can have only one value. So what is the one value? That is will be 1. So in case of n equal to 1, only one orbital will be possible, one orbit will be there. If n is equal to 2, then n phi will be equal to 1 comma 2, because two values will be permissible. Therefore n phi will be equal to 1 comma 2. Therefore for n equal to 2 second orbit, we will be having two different orbitals or two different orbits, and for n equal to 3 we will be having value of n phi will be equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3, and therefore 3 orbits are possible to this particular principal quantum number 3. Okay, so and so on. If n equal to 4, then there will be the 4 orbits. Okay, now how this particular concept explain the origin of fine structure of hydrogen spectrum or fine structure of H alpha line. So you see how we can explain now, because whether this theory is correct or not, that will only be decided by the proper explanation of fine structure of H alpha line. So what is the in summary, what is the statement of Sommerfeld? That according to the Sommerfeld, electron revolves in that particular elliptical orbit, and if the electron revolves in the elliptical orbit, there will be n values of orbits possible. Again, what is the second result of the Sommerfeld atomic model is that for every principal quantum number there will be the n values possible for n phi, and according to the Bohr, the energy En is inversely proportional to n square. It means that energy depends on principal quantum number only. Now we know that according to Sommerfeld, this principal quantum number is equal to nr plus n phi. Now if we place this identity into this, then also the n will be constant only. This n will be constant, and it means that it will have a single value of energy. So again, that is not possible, because this is not allowed in case of Sommerfeld. Okay, different orbits means what? It should have different energy levels. So he modified this particular formula, and according to the Sommerfeld, this value of energy comes out to be, the value of energy comes out to be, it is given by a new formula, minus r prime alpha raised to 4 divided by n square minus r prime alpha raised to 4 divided by n to the power 4 into bracket n divided by n phi minus 3 divided by 4. So you see, in this case this energy depends on n phi. Okay, so if there are different values possible for n phi, every value of n phi will have different value of energy. Okay, it means that it will indicate the existence of different energy level. Now how this particular theory explain the fine structure, that we will see now. So how we will get H alpha line? H alpha line will be obtained by the transition of electron from n equal to 3 to n equal to 2, that we have seen the origin of the Balmer series, right? So according to the Bohr, n equal to 3 means what? Single energy level. N equal to 2 means what? Single energy level. So whenever the electron makes its transition from n equal to 3 to n equal to 2, there should be the single photon emitted, and it would correspond to the single value of wavelength. But according to Sommerfeld, for every n, because only this quantum number is now not deciding the state of electron. If we want to find out the state of electron completely, we require, in addition to this n, we require another quantum number, that is n phi. Okay, so n phi, so for n equal to 2, how many values are permissible for n phi? So for n equal to 2, this n phi will be equal to 1 comma 2. So 2 levels are possible, or 2 energy levels are possible. So this n equal to 2 will be replaced by, now this single energy level will be replaced by 2 energy levels. So how we can represent? N equal to 2, and for this case also n will be equal to 2, but here n phi will be equal to 1, and here n phi will be equal to 2. So n equal to 2, n phi equal to 1, n equal to 2, and n phi equal to 2. So these are the 2 energy levels, or these are the representation of these 2 energy levels. What I will do now, this n phi is I will replace this n phi by the another letter small k, because normally this particular letter is used. So small k, and what is the name of this small k? N phi is nothing but it is equal to small k. Now what is the name of this small k? Small k is called as azimuthal quantum number. Okay, azimuthal quantum number. Okay, so these are the 2 energy levels. What about n equal to 3? For n equal to 3, this n phi or k will be equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3. So this single energy level will be split into 3 energy levels. These single energy levels will be now represented by 3 energy levels. Okay, each will be having n equal to 3, no doubt, that is the value of principal quantum number, but it will also have sub energy levels or suborbitals, and these will be represented by n phi or k is equal to 1, k is equal to 2, k is equal to 3, right? So 3 1, 3 2, and 3 3. Okay, how it will be represented? We have just seen it will be represented by 2 1, 2 2, 3 1, 3 2, and 3 3. You see, these are the value of principal quantum number, and these are the value of azimuthal quantum number, or value of k. Now how will be the transitions? How will be the transitions? Electron, suppose that electron is at the higher energy state, so it can be anywhere. Suppose that it is initially is at this particular position. So if the electron is at this particular position, it can make transition to this position. Okay, it can make transition to this position, and one photon will be emitted. But it is not necessary that electron should make the transition to this particular level only. Electron can make the transition to the lower level also. This n phi is equal to, or k equal to 1 level also. So okay, this transition, so again we will get one photon. So this transition, suppose that electron is at this particular level, then from this level also which transitions are possible? It can make transition over here, it can make transition over here also. Suppose electron is not in this particular level, it is in this particular level, then from here also electron make the transition to this level, from here also electron make transition from this level. So these many transitions are possible, and every transition will be equivalent to the emission of photon of particular energy or of particular wavelength. So how many transitions are possible? How many transitions are there? You see, this is first transition, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So according to the Sommerfeld, if the Sommerfeld theory is correct, then 6 transitions should be possible. and these 6 transitions should give 6 types of wavelengths, 6 type of energies difference and 6 types of wavelengths. But actually our H alpha line has only 5 lines. It does not have 6 lines. So how to explain now the origin of 5 lines? Sommerfeld was about to explain the origin of these 5 lines, but he has come up with the 6 lines. But 6 lines are not the experimental facts. So what he did then, he argued that no, all these transitions are not possible. Okay, there should be some selection criteria, because you see here k is equal to 1 and here also k is equal to 1, this k is equal to 1, so these are the similar energy levels, we can say. So he put some selection rules. Okay, selection rules are nothing but one type of rules which tells us that which transitions are possible and which transitions are not possible. So he identified one selection rule, and that is very much true also. So according to that selection rule, he told that only those transitions are possible for which this delta k is equal to plus minus 1. This delta k is equal to plus minus 1, or we can say that only those transitions are possible for which delta k changes by, or azimuthal quantum number changes by plus 1 or the minus 1. Now again revisit these transitions. We know the value of k everywhere. Okay, for this level the value of k is 1, for this level the value of k is 2, for this level the value of k is 1, here 2 and here 3. Okay, so what could be done? Let us consider this transition. For this transition k is equal to 1, and for this transition for this energy level k is equal to 2. So it is 1 minus 2. We have to subtract the things. Okay, k equal to 1, k equal to 2, so 1 minus 2 will be equal to minus 1, and only those transitions are possible for which delta k is equal to plus 1 or minus 1. So minus 1 is allowed. So this transition is allowed transition. What about this? For this transition k is equal to 1 and here k is equal to 1. So 1 minus 1 is 0, but 1 minus 1 0, that is delta k is equal to 0 is not permissible. Therefore this transition will not be allowed. For this transition, this energy level is having a value of k is equal to 2, this energy level is having a value of k is equal to 2. So 2 minus 2, that will be 0, 0 is not allowed. What about this? K equal to 2 and k equal to 1. So 2 minus 1 is plus 1, delta k is equal to plus 1 is allowed. So this is allowed. What about this? K is equal to 3, k is equal to 2. So 3 minus 2, that will be 1. So this is again allowed. Here k is equal to 3 and k is equal to 1. 3 minus 1, that would be 2, and 2 is not allowed. So you see, when we applied Sommerfeld theory, we got 6 transitions. Now we realize that experimentally we have obtained only 5 transitions. So Sommerfeld applied the new phenomena, new concept, that is the selection rules. Now after applying the selection rules, 3 transitions have been ruled out. 3 transitions have been ruled out, they are not allowed. Only 3 transitions are allowed. So he was going to explain the origin of 5 energy levels, but he could explain only the origin of 3 energy levels. So what we can say, that Sommerfeld could only partially explain the fine structure of H alpha line. Okay, it could only partially explain the origin of H alpha line. Now in addition to that, okay, it is very true that it could only partially explain the origin of H alpha line, and therefore many scientists worked together and another atomic model was about to emerge. Okay, and actually they have group of scientists invented another atomic model which is called as a vector atom model. That is the topic of actual syllabus, right? So that in order to understand that vector atom model, we need to understand this first. Okay, now we realize that this Sommerfeld could only partially explain the origin of the H alpha line or the fine structure of hydrogen atom H alpha line, but in addition to that he has given so many things also. He has given us that, okay, how many number of electrons are there for energy level, okay, how many electrons should be there for sub energy level, and so on. All these things will be obtained by the Sommerfeld theory only.